had no long-term adverse effects. Additionally, over 80% of the people that died because of COVID did not take the vaccine.
Listen, you guys haven't done simple.
I'm going by memory.
Gentlemen, you haven't done simple multiplication. If we sent out 1 billion vaccines and 10 out of every 100,000 have myocarditis, we killed over 40,000 people instantaneously with the mass injections. Don't you fucking faggot retards know multiplication? Hello?
Have myocarditis doesn't mean you killed people. What are you talking about?
I mean, the honest conversation would be, yes, the vaccine. I think the vaccine is obviously less safe than a bologna sandwich. It's not food. It's regulated in a very different way. And
wow, she doesn't think it. She thinks it's less safe.
That seems like
it's less safe.
And then additionally, I think it seems obvious that the vaccines come with a risk. Many things similar to that of COVID, right? Your body reacts in a somewhat similar way to the vaccine than it does that it will to COVID, right?
Case of COVID, yes.
So again, it's a matter the honest conversation is a risk calculation.
We are recording highly brainwashed individuals.
There is a conversation to be had.
And the video.
Stuff at the COVID vaccine.
I go to ChicagoMarathon.com,
and that's what the purpose of these vaccine boards is to make these risk calculations and figure out, when the benefits outweigh the risks. I do think it's also worth evaluating that the vaccine schedule as it's created is determined in large part about compliance. So they make the vaccine schedule in such a way where compliance rates will be higher. Whereas if you are a person who has more time on your hands and doesn't care about copays and whatever, you absolutely could split the vaccines up more. Right, that's definitely what I plan to do.
That's what I was trying to say.
Split the vaccines up, have them further apart.
Good point. Norm, I need to clarify something. You did not say a minute ago that taking the COVID vaccine gives you a mild case of COVID. You did not say that, did you?
Yeah, I did.
I don't believe that's true, Norm.
Yeah. Well,
I will do my heavy lifting within 5 minutes, but I don't think that's true. Continue the conversation. I don't think that
does not give you an active COVID infection, but it can result in symptoms similar to that of COVID, but are more mild. So
that's the way vaccines work. They stimulate your body's response.
That's the way that's the way a regular vaccine works, such as the flu or such as mumps, measles, rubella, polio. That's not the way the COVID vaccine works. But you keep talking. It'll take me 2 minutes
The way they synthesize the mRNA virus defense mechanism doesn't change the way the body responds to it. It responds by attacking the virus in the body and developing the white blood cells, the autoimmune system, to defeat it. That's the purpose of every vaccine, to develop the resistance to it, to develop the antibodies. That's what vaccines do. They teach your body to develop antibodies.
They're like teachers. They teach your body.
And once again,
they teach your body's pain.
I'm on Google.
An adverse reaction.
Take Google as the end all. But here's the answer to the question that I gave Google. Does taking the COVID vaccine give you a mild case of COVID? Answer.
Norm just admitted that the COVID-19 vaccine causes an adverse reaction. He just said it.
Thank you. I'm not fucking done talking. Don't interrupt me. Thank you.
I'm not sure why you're cursing, Steve.
Because I got a little angry. Oh. The answer to the question, does taking the COVID vaccine give you a mild case of COVID? Answer, no. The COVID-19 vaccine cannot give you a mild case of COVID because none of the authorized vaccines contain the live virus. So, sorry, Norm, you were wrong.
Well, I have to disagree with you and Google, Steve. So
fine. Please quote me your site.
Yes. So I think I just explained it a moment ago.
No. I said quote me your site.
Yes, I know what you said, and now I'm responding the way I choose to respond.
But no. I want you to quote me your site.
Thank you. So when you give
so
somebody,
if you don't, this is just your opinion,
no,
right?
sir. No, sir. I'm explaining the science.
Okay, what is about what you're ready to say based
so
on?
now, do you mind if I finish?
As long as you tell me what it's based on, or is it just your opinion?
But no, it's based on.
So you don't want to say what it's based on. You don't want to say
I'm
if it's
telling
your
you what
opinion.
it's
You
based
just
on,
want to
but
say
it's okay. So I'm basing it on simple science. So
simple
what a vaccine
science.
does, yes. So what a vaccine does is it stimulates your body's your system's antibodies to a given pathogen. And when you create those antibodies to the pathogen, you're then able to defeat the intrusion of the pathogen.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that.
Right. So
that's not what you said.
Well, that's the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
The problem with the
You're
virus
wrong.
is
It's not the same thing.
Well, you're incorrect on that one. So the problem with the virus is not the presence of the virus in the body. There are many. The problem is the body's response to it. And if the body can't respond to it effectively, then you get sick and you get symptoms. And that's what we're talking about here. It's simple science.
No. Simple science is whether or not taking the COVID vaccine gives you a mild case of COVID.
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes. And I just explained to you how it does that.
Well, you explained it. That statement is wrong.
Which part did you not understand about what
I understood everything. What you said.
You don't disagree with the word that I said, do you?
Well, it gives you a mild case of something, right? I mean, the mRNA vaccine is more similar, I guess.
It gives you side effects.
What is a virus, right? A virus is an encapsulated piece of biological
RNA, really.
Basically, it can sometimes it's DNA, sometimes it's RNA, sometimes whatever, right? But it's encapsulated and it goes in your body. But I think the key difference is that virus can replicate itself within your body, and that is what a COVID infection is. Versus this is being injected with the product that a vaccine would make, and then that product produces the spike protein in your body, which is so it's a mild case of spike protein injection, I guess you could say. But I don't think you can. I think you're stretching it to say that you have a mild case of COVID because you have a mild case of something, and that something is
you're going to get
spike protein.
You're going to get mild COVID symptoms often.
Well, that's true.
I'm not going to argue with that. You will get mild COVID symptoms. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So do we agree on that, but that it doesn't give you a mild case of COVID?
Oh, you're welcome to argue over it, Steve. I don't have an interest in arguing over it. I think.
All right, then let's stop arguing.
I'm fine with that.
No, it's not that Norm has no interest in arguing over it. Norm has no interest in being wrong. He's not going to admit.
I want to be wrong when I'm wrong. I don't want to be right when I'm wrong.
But you
get a COVID vaccine, and I think in many cases you're under the weather for a couple.
But clearly, Norm, you were wrong, and you just don't want to admit that you were wrong.
Well, no, that's not true, Ben.
Yes, it was very.
So do you understand what happens when you catch a virus? You respond to the virus, right? And those responses are what you experience as feeling sick. You might get a fever. Your body is raising its temperature to create an inhospitable environment for the virus. You might get things like a runny nose or a sore throat. Your body is responding to the intruder. That's what happens when you get a vaccine too, only on a smaller
scale. And a runny nose and sore throat are side effects for the cold and the flu, correct?
Right. And COVID.
So if you give you a reaction akin to a mild case of COVID, I don't think any of us would disagree.
Fair enough.
You just said flatly it gives you a mild case of COVID. Which is
fair enough. We know what he meant.
All right, so apparently we're all in agreement on the principal issue. Let's move on.
How's everyone doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm a little excited, but I'm doing great, man. It's Friday.
And it is exciting.
Nice. Are you guys free?
Listen, people are excited because it's Shabbos and the Shekhinah is about to come. And it's Friday night, baby, the night of lovers, Venus de Milo, something like that, Rabbonu Shalom. This has been such an interesting conversation about the COVID-19 vaccine and adverse reaction and people that have buyer's remorse and guilt about believing in this thing called COVID-19 and the political ideology behind it, the hypnosis, the lies, the spam. It's all come out, and Dr. Fauci's going down. He's being prosecuted by the Republican Party and Rand Paul for his lies and deception and misinformation and murder. 1 million Americans were murdered by the mass rollout of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, Moderna, J&J. We all know 1 million people died upon injection, receiving that horrific poison of mRNA spike proteins. And everyone here who believes the lies and propaganda, you're a fool. And they will fool you with their lies themselves.
Just for clarification, I'm the one that moved him to the audience because specifically he stated that 1 million people died from the vaccine, which is completely untrue. It's a flat out lie. And I was going, hang on, let me finish. I was going to let him stay on stage, but when you commit a flat out lie that the COVID vaccine killed 1 million people, that's when you get dumped to the fucking goo. Go ahead.
Pure nonsense, and I would have done the same thing. I was just about to, this is an example of a non-productive conversation, Steve, that I'm not interested in having. I don't want to just debate nonsense. And I agree with what you did in sending him down. And sometimes by the way, I like John in general. I like most of the good stuff that he said.
Well, I know that Scott likes John also, but when John comes up and just makes a flat out lie, I've got to dump him to the goo. Sorry.
He's extreme on some things.
He's terrible.
Hey, he can be terrible all he wants, but if he's going to say a flat out lie, he's going to the.
I mean,
if he would have said the COVID illness killed 1 million people, that's arguably the truth. But say the vaccine killed 1 million, no,
that's the data I read.
You know what's a fair question, and I'm open to having this conversation. Net was the COVID vaccine positive for our
net negative.
A net positive or a net negative?
Net negative.
Now I'm hoping it was a net positive, and my gut, without looking carefully at the data, and I'm glad you're here, Sir Liberty, and you're here, Ben, because I'd like to hear what you think. I think in general it was a net gain for the population of the world.
Exact opposite, you fucking fool.
Let me. I'll tell you what I think, and I would love for people to disagree with me and talk to me about it. There is no question in my mind that the vaccine in and of itself was net positive. I'm talking about the actual vaccine. Now, if anybody wants to disagree with me, here I am. Go for it.
I think the problem, I agree it's a positive, but I think the problem is calling it a vaccine, right? When people, I think
net positive! That's who we're dealing with, people!
I get it.
That's who we're dealing with!
I don't get it, right? It's an immunization, and I'm pretty much bulletproof. And
it's supposed to be a net negative.
It's much more mitigated, right? It's going to save, in many instances, it can save your life. But I think people misconstrue that. I think the nature of the the injection, that it's the same thing as sort of as a kind of vaccination that tends to eradicate diseases. And I think that's misleading.
Why do you think people felt, or why do you think people were? I want to say, why do you think people were misled? Like, I won't even ask. I'll just say, I think that people were misled to believe that. So I think that this is a lot of the issues with the COVID pandemic in general. It wasn't the fact that
misled to believe what?
I think we were misled to believe across the board a lot of things. I think the way that the verbiage was out there regarding the vaccine was, once you get this, you can't get COVID, and you aren't going to be able to pass it to other people. That was.
I think they may have thought that actually mistakenly, Ben.
The data was pretty strong at first. I mean, we were looking at counties that had high levels of vaccine compliance and things, and did initial epidemiologic comparisons. It did look pretty strong that people who were vaccinated were less likely to cause infections. The problem was that it was that these vaccines were not distributed randomly to the nation. It was like people who were at higher risk were getting them, people who were more likely to follow, social distancing rules and things and have isolated social groups were more likely to get them. And there's all these confounding variables that caused us to have difficulties initially with getting a good grip on the data. So I felt like as time progressed, I felt like the reporting, and every time that I looked at it, I felt like the reporting reflected what we were seeing in the data at the time. And then the data would change. And that was the problem, is that people would go, oh my gosh, they lied to us. But I don't know. To me, it just seemed like
this is the opinion of a man who dresses up as a woman.
Like that was the nature of how fast
she goes by Lady Liberty.
Have time to like let these things shake out. This is why normally in a clinical trial we would do it over the course of like an 18-month observation window, you know. But we just didn't have that kind of time.
Now, let me tell you what I recall very quickly, and my memory may be incorrect, but the information that I was able to go through, and there was a lot, unequivocally stated the following and stayed the same. Number one, taking the vaccine does not prevent you from getting the virus. That's number one. Number two, taking the vaccine does lessen the side effects that you get when you get COVID. And those are the only two things that stayed the same and that everybody agreed on. Now, if my memory's incorrect, I'm open to hear.
Well, there's one other variable here.
Go ahead.
Too, that I think's very important.
State.
The VAERS, well, I'm going to. The VAERS system that reported adverse reactions, I think, was vastly underreported. For instance, when because I've had a heart attack, I have immune system problems. I'm in a demographic age group that was vulnerable. Even though I had some concerns, I thought the risk reward for me, given the particulars of my health, was worth taking the shot.
Scott likes him.
And when we was going through it, no one gave us any information. If you have an adverse reaction to this, should it be reported at A, B, or C? Second time I took it, because I took 2 shots of it. The second time I took it, same thing. No information. Like if you get an adverse reaction, where do you report it to? Who do you talk to about it? So I think VAERS, where the information was being fed into the system as a feedback to the scientists about what they's actually seeing in the population for adverse reaction, this shot was vastly underreported. And by the way, 2 weeks after I received my second shot, I contracted COVID.
All right. Okay.
And you probably had a much less severe reaction.
Yeah, probably.
My son that I advised, because he was young, he's healthy, he wasn't overweight, had no.
How old? How old? It's important.
He was 29 at the time.
Thank you.
So, yeah, he was healthy. He wasn't overweight. He had no compromise in his health.
No comorbidities. Go ahead. Yeah.
Right. So I advised him, because of his risk reward didn't seem to be the same as mine. We actually contracted COVID about the same time, and our symptoms was very, very much the same.
All right.
Yeah, I think the risk reward, like if you ask me net benefit, I would say, knowing what we know now, definite, undeniable net benefit for everyone over the age of 70. I would say,
yep.
I would argue net loss for males under the age of 30. I think that males under the age of 30 should not get COVID vaccines. People in general between the ages of 45 and 70, I think it's maybe a wash. I think it depends on what level of symptomology you had, if you've ever had COVID before, what sort of comorbidities you have. But I mean, undeniably, COVID was so unique in how lethal it was for just relative to how old you were. You know, if you were over 95, the survival rate was really quite low.
It was just a fucking, it was a cloud of death that pillaged the nation.
So
an invisible specter of extreme danger spread across the land. An invisible invader that killed mercilessly.
Right.
Yeah. If you were somehow 45 with diabetes, then
or high blood pressure. Yes.
I should probably just let it run.
Really anecdotal exception, but my mother got it And she was 95, and
This is a good
she
recording.
survived it easily.
When you say got it, you mean the vaccine or the virus?
First she got COVID, and later when they had the vaccine, she got the vaccine.
She was 95 and she got COVID without the vaccine. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, here was one thing I seen. I talked to a couple people that worked in the medical industry. I talked to a lady that was
Buttercup, I hope you know that the COVID-19 vaccine mass rollout was the biggest fucking fraud and scam and mass carcinogenic event in human history. I'm sorry if you have buyer's remorse. I assume you took it based on your political ideology. You are categorically 100% confirmed to have taken it. Feel bad for you. Sorry. All your free Palestine energy is misdirected. It should actually be against Big Pharma, which is financially and ideologically captured us to kill us, provides no real statistical significant benefits, let alone the financial cost alone is bankrupting the country. It's already bankrupt anyways. Buttercup, is there anything you want to say as I continue to live stream El Normo, the vaccine guy and the master gaslighter? Because, we can at least, I know you probably hate Norm Green, but we could probably agree that his position on the COVID-19 ZAV, as well as other ZAVs and his bullshit about mumps and measles and rubella, we gotta take them all. We gotta stay safe. The funniest thing is they think that it was a net positive, not even a net positive, but a net positive. And what they don't understand is this is really like a culling, like if you got a group of wolves, the weakest wolf dies off. I don't know, is that called culling? But it's really like eugenics. This is basically legacy eugenics that Dr. Fauci, Bill Gates, etc., the World Health Organization wanted to roll out. I mean, they want to reduce the global population to 4 billion. It's like a stated goal. So they have mass sterilized us. I think you have a child. I'm sure you also zabbed your child, who probably will not have any children for you. Such a terrible legacy to be snuffed out subversively by Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates, Dr. Birx, Peter Stritzak from, EcoHealth Alliance. Anyways, there's so much information out there that these low IQ, uninformed, politically, ideologically captured people have absolutely no idea about. They don't know who A.G. Huff is, former U.S. Army officer who used to work at EcoHealth Alliance with Peter Stritzak, who got hundreds of millions of dollars in research for the COVID-19 virus. I also think it's interesting to point out that it's called. Oh, I lost my audience.
Wow. So I did not catch. I was taking care of my mother. And I did not get COVID from her. But I wore 2 masks and a face shield, and I wore gloves in it. This is before we had
2 masks and a face shield.
Then when
Don't get virus, stay away from me.
Take the vaccine. How can we get it? We want to get it faster. People were staying up all night trying to get onto the list to get the vaccine. And I remember they used the Brooklyn Army Center, which is this vast installation in Brooklyn on the Hudson, on the East River. And it was just a massive army-like installation to give out the vaccines. And, we just processed through there. And I did that once, obviously, at this Brooklyn Army Center, and then another time at a pharmacy. The first time I took the vaccine, I took to my bed for a couple days. The second time, it was something similar. Maybe it was a day or two of just feeling kind of under the weather. Not severe symptoms, but just under the weather. Then, 2 years later, after everybody was long past COVID, I went to England. And sometimes when you travel, I think you're encountering new pathogens, so you're more susceptible. So on one trip to England, I got something. It was called, I think it's called RSV, respiratory something virus or syndrome. And that was a new thing I'd never heard of. And I got real sick for a couple days or so. I'm choking on bagels and lox. And then another time, 2 years after that, I went to England. I went to London, and I got sick. And this time I had COVID. Like nobody was getting COVID, and I somehow got COVID, and that lasted for like a couple days, and then I was done with it. And that's what I think I had a total of 3 one vaccine and 2 boosters. As the thing morphed, as the virus morphed, remember, I think one was called like Omicron or something, and then they had, I don't know what, COVID C or D or something. I took two, and then I stopped taking boosters.
Norm, you're scaring me. You're going to get laryngeal penetration.
No, I'm not. I'm just choking on like a poppy seed or something.
You all may remember that COVID was declared a national emergency on Friday, March 13th of 2020. Me, a lot of my family members and friends in November of 2019 got what we thought was the worst case of the flu ever. I was bedridden for 3 days, and then for the next 2 weeks, and one of the contributing factors, one of my comorbidities, I smoke cigarettes. I was hawking up phlegm for 2 weeks after that. Although it was never medically confirmed, and in fact, some deny, arguably that may have been the actual start of COVID, although it was never diagnosed as COVID. And I know when I officially got COVID, like in 2022, it was very mild. For me, it was like a basic cold. And if indeed, in November of 2019, what me, family members, and friends actually got was the actual start of COVID, my body certainly would have developed the appropriate immunity and white blood cells, which would count for when I finally got it. It affected me in a very mild.
Did you know, Steve? I guess the people who were smokers.
Yeah.
It's very rare that smoking is the health benefit, but in this case, there was strong evidence that smoking was blocking or diminishing some of these receptors in your lungs that COVID attaches to. So the survival rate was much higher for smokers than non-smokers.
And of course, that would be smokers that had no other effects, such as high blood pressure, lung cancer, whatever the case may be. And what I also heard, though, was COVID does not like alcohol in any way, shape, or form. And people who drank a lot of alcohol were more resistant to COVID as well. But of course, alcohol has other negative effects that lowers your immune system, lowers your white blood cell count, contributes a whole other factors. But COVID definitely does not like alcohol.
Wow. There's an irony to this disease, eh? Like,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The vices are, yeah. What did we learn?
Well, I know one thing. I said earlier, about 10 minutes ago, the 2 things that I was able to discern from all the information, what was not expressed to me, and then what I learned after was that the vaccine, its strongest effect against COVID, really only lasts for about 2 to 3 months. I didn't know that at the time. That's why I chose the Johnson & Johnson, because it was advertised as the one and done. If you took the Moderna or the other one, obviously you had to take 2, but then they came out with boosters. And the boosters, of course, were saying, well, the other one only lasts a little while. We didn't know that at first when the original vaccines came out, that it was only going to last 2 or 3 months. Now, of course, they didn't say it would last forever, but they didn't say this is only good for 2 or 3 months. So that's that as well, to back up what you were saying, Agent. True. Good. And I also said, and many of you may disagree, this is just my opinion now, I'm not going to give a fact. It's my humble opinion that if Donald Trump would have simply come out when he declared the national emergency and said, look, you all, this COVID, for 95% of you is just going to be a bad case of the flu. But that 5%, this can be a very deadly virus. Therefore, whether or not you take the vaccine and how you handle it should be discussed between you, your family, your doctor, and your God. I think if Trump would have come out and said that, he would have been reelected in a landslide. But instead, he took the political point of view and the chutzpah simply to say, in so many words, this is bullshit, even though he clearly got it himself. I think he would have been reelected in a landslide if he just would have said, for 95% of you, it's going to be a bad case of the flu, but it can be deadly. But he basically dismissed the whole thing, and that's why I think he lost his reelection bid. But that's just my opinion. It's just my crystal ball. Look.
Yeah, I don't agree with you there, Steve. Not just because I voted for Trump, but because I think that the people that had their minds made up about whether or not whether they were going to take the vaccine or not, kind of did already. I also think that a lot of the messaging, particularly where I lived in Northern California during the start of the pandemic, the messaging on a lot of the stay-at-home stuff and all that kind of stuff also shaped a lot of how people felt about the vaccine as well, where a lot of the stay-at-home stuff just didn't make any sense. And I had a roommate at the time, and we're talking about it and going, we're being sold a bill of goods here when it comes to how we're supposed to handle this pandemic that we know is patently insane. So at the very, very beginning, there was a lot of like, okay, well, we just don't know what we're up against. And so you had Newsom out there and the various mayors and stuff like, hey, we really don't know what we're dealing with. A lot of the first cruise ships came into harbor where we were. I remember watching a helicopter fly over that had some of the very first COVID victims on it, or alleged victims, because I agree with you, because we had a very, very bad sickness go through our workplace. And we worked with a lot of international people at the time go through our workplace, which I'm pretty damn sure is COVID. But without all that being said, there's so much information being thrown out there that, again, at the beginning, the politicians were like, yeah, we don't know what we're talking about. And so we're all just kind of like taking the best case scenario here or the worst case scenario when it comes to how we should handle this. But as we moved on, once we got towards May, June, July, the stuff that was being said just straight up, it defied logic.
Yes.
I think it really did shape how people viewed the vaccine and how people viewed it helped shape the skepticism of a lot of people who are being told to take this or being told to do these other things. Well, we already know that you already know that you've lied to us previously, or at the very least you've misled us previously. So a lot of the social distancing stuff defied logic. Like you can go and I remember watching a graphic on TV saying, don't be in groups of more than 6 or your immediate community unless you're going to protest, right? Like, it was like, wait a second, what does it mean? What does it matter if you're going to a protest? And then you had people on the opposition, you had people like Mike Pence and people like that who were coming out and being like, well, what does it matter if you're going to a protest or going to church? And because they were saying, well, churches are super spreader events. And I think if there had just been, honestly, transparency across the board, a lot of the vaccine hesitancy would have been reduced. But again, I just don't think that there wasn't that transparency. And then in the industry that I was working at the time, I'm no longer in, we were being told you have to get the vaccine regardless of your age, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. The comorbidities, no comorbidity.
Yes.
We were being told you're going to get laid off. I worked in higher education at the time at a state university, and we were told if you don't take the vaccine, you have to come up with a damn good reason as to why you're not. And otherwise, we're gonna like it was the OSHA it was the vax mandates, right? So, and again, I'm like looking at the data and looking at the facts that we knew at the time, and it didn't. This is again skipping ahead to like a year or so. Obviously, the vaccine wasn't out at the beginning. So
yeah, well, I was in a very fortunate position. I am, because not only do I work for a law office, but I was also a podcaster. So I have double essential work. Okay. So businesses were shut down. Let me tell you what was not shut down: liquor stores and marijuana dispensaries. Those are essential. I don't think so. Let's talk about what was shut down. nail and hair salons. Now, I can understand government may not consider it essential to get a haircut or get your nails done, but these nail technicians, they've been wearing masks for years prior to COVID because they're near chemicals and shit like that. They wear masks regularly. And so that was ridiculous. And last but not least, telling people to stay inside, like if you're in a one-bedroom apartment with 4 people, 6 people, and you're not allowed to go to the beach. Of course, we know now the beach is the safest place for you. You're out in the open, you're getting sun, you're getting offshore wind. It was fascinating to me that the Los Angeles County beaches were closed, yet the Ventura beaches on the north and the Orange County beaches on the south were open. And really last but not least, yes, cruise ships have always been petri dishes for disease, and they still.
Well, another thing that was interesting during the COVID pandemic was masks and the different types that people were trying to use. Most of the mask that was being used was ineffective because of the particle size of the COVID virus. I mean, it looked good on you, but as far as being effective, it had a really high failure rate to do what it was supposed to be doing. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the N95 was the only one that was actually effective at blocking the particle size of the virus.
I think that's tricky. I generally agree, but I also, if you did have a big old sneeze, if you didn't have a mask on, you're going to shoot it all over the place, versus if you have a mask on, it's going to get caught. So I don't know. I think it's a little trickier than that. Like, yes, the size of the virus is really small and can get through the mask, but it's also travels on respiratory droplets, many of which get caught by the mask. So I think it's a little trickier than that.
Well, also, COVID was the first time that arguably this country quarantined healthy people. Healthy people were quarantined. And you can check your stats, check your history. Not even during the Spanish flu of 1918 or whatever it was, they did not quarantine healthy people. I think you have to go back more than 200 years, like during the Revolutionary War or whatever, where we as a country quarantine healthy people. You know, Florida and Texas shut down for 2 months. California, arguably 18 months. The death rate per population there was only literally a 2% difference. 2% people more died in Texas and Florida than in California. And again, California, 18 months. Horrible. Lives, businesses were destroyed. Who the hell is the governor to tell somebody what is an essential business? That you've been running a business for 20, 25 years, paying your taxes, being a part of society, and because you, the government, don't consider it essential, but you're considering a marijuana dispensary essential? Sorry.
Also, you can go to restaurants or do anything like that unless you went to a casino.
Oh, and the outdoor dining, that's a whole other issue. But don't get me started.
I had friends of mine who were like, yeah, I went out to dinner the other night, smoked, had a good time, and hung out with a bunch of my friends. We all did it in close proximity to one another. And I said, how did you do that? They said, we went to an Indian casino because the U.S. government doesn't have jurisdiction there to that degree. So, yeah, again, anecdotal, but I did go myself. But I know they're like, yeah, no, we're just sitting down in restaurants eating.
And then there's Gavin Newsom at the French Laundry, sitting side by side, shoulder to shoulder, without masks, with representatives of the California Medical Association. When ridiculous.
I was living in the Bay Area at the time. And Nancy Pelosi went to a hair salon. And the person who, I believe it was, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was either the salon either the person who owned the hair salon or the woman who did the actual hair appointment itself, I can't remember which, was the one who reported it. And like Fox News and all these other places picked it up. She's, look, I'm not doing this to score right-wing political points. I'm literally just pointing out the fact that she's saying she's like, I'm literally just doing that again.
Nancy Pelosi, arguably the most powerful woman in the country, said she was set up by a hairstylist.
That's
unbelievable.
She argued that it was a setup. That's right. I remember that.
My favorite thing about it was you would go to a restaurant. They would refuse to. They would be like, "You must wear a mask. You cannot like step foot in the door." Or
until you're eating. Then once you're eating,
yeah.
Take off that mask and breathe away.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you're highly infectious while you're walking to your table, but as soon as you sit down, like it's COVID free. You're in a safe zone. You're at your table.
I don't think lockdowns will ever happen again. I just no. The population won't stand for it.
Yeah, I used to call it COVID theater. I was a good sport about the whole thing, but I knew it was bullshit. I mean, there's so much bullshit all around. But I do think it's unfortunate.
Well, my business,
how much?
My business never closed. We closed our doors for 2 months and had clients by appointment only. So we clearly curtailed the traffic, but our business stayed open. We didn't close our business for 1 day, but that's the type of business we had. We were on the second floor. We were not a retail space.
I think what's really sad is like we used up all the goodwill that was there on something that, I think we went overkill for, yes, it was a deadly pandemic, all this stuff, but the inconvenience I don't think that we put on everyone, I don't think saved the number of lives that that would have justified the level of inconvenience. And especially it didn't justify it burning up the goodwill that now is going to make us extremely vulnerable to the next pandemic. Like, let's say there's an actually significantly more deadly one. People are not going to comply, and a lot more people will die.
But my issue with this whole thing is, like, again, it just didn't have to be that way. I had no issue with the way that Gavin Newsom ran California, other than, I'm a conservative and I didn't like the way that Gavin Newsom was running California. But I actually gave him credit in the beginning of the entire pandemic for just coming out and being like, look, we just don't know what we're dealing with, so we're going to be extra cautious here. Like, if that's the approach you're going to take and you're going to be transparent with the public about it, okay, fine. That's the way it's going to be. But as soon as you're not doing that anymore, as soon as you're pushing things that people can obviously see are not true, then that's where you lose the credibility. Like,
so where do you think, how far along did he lose his credibility?
Well, I think it was the stuff I mentioned earlier. I think it was a lot of the stuff with the protests where they're like, well, yeah, it's probably not good if you go out and protest, but we can't tell people not to protest.
So you're saying like 2 months? 2 months?
Yeah, like 2 months or so. Like when was the George Floyd shooting? Like I forgot what date that was. And I guess I could just Google it, but yeah, I don't have my computer in front of me, but yeah. But yeah, it was like around that time, or, not long after that.
Well, I don't remember when the George Floyd shooting was, but I know that, and I mentioned earlier that Florida and Texas shut down for 2 months. Then they reopened and other states started to reopen, which is why I picked out the 2 month figure for you. And by the way, I would agree with you. For the first 2 months, we just didn't know. But
so
then
George Floyd got shot on May 12th.
He didn't get shot. He got the knee on the neck.
When did he die? When did he die? When did he die? What year?
Overdosed and suffocated.
No. He died. Let's just say right now he died. What year? What year?
He died on May 26th of 2020.
Okay, so that was 2 months into COVID because COVID was March 13th.
Again, I'm not here to I'm not here to talk about George Floyd. I'm just pointing.
I was going to say, I don't think we're talking about.
That's another room.
It's another discussion, right? Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I got no problem with Newsom in the first 2 months. No problem.
I'm not legislating how or what happened to George Floyd. It's another room. My point being is, right around those times, it was shortly thereafter that there was a lot of protests. And that's when I noticed in the Bay Area, at least where I was living at the time, the Bay Area in Northern California, was like, holy shit, okay. They're telling us something that's completely different than what the actual facts are here. It was also like, you could go to a restaurant, you could sit in your little groups, you had to buy, there's all these weird little rules and all that. But apparently none of that applied for the kitchen staff, who all had to like work in super close proximity. Also, you could go to a gas station or something like that. And I remember being like, how can you possibly enter a convenience store and not be within 6 feet of everybody? Like the aisles are too tight and that kind of thing. So like a bunch of stuff where it was like, okay. And again, to your point, where it's just like, it seemed like selectively shutting down or there's and those types of things. Or just,
by the way, you know where 6 feet comes from?
I don't remember that. I heard this somewhere, but I don't remember.
Okay, this is what I think. Again, this is what I think. If you stand facing somebody and you extend your arm as far as it will go, and they extend their arm as far as it will go, and your fingers touch together, you're approximately 6 feet apart.
Well, sure.
Well, that's where I think it comes from.
Yeah, the average wingspan is roughly what your height is, and the average height of somebody is. So it would make sense that it would be a little bit closer than that. So that would make sense. So.
Well, I said approximately.
Exactly. I'm agreeing with you there. Yeah. So, but most people's wingspans are roughly what their height is. Which something I don't know. I find that interesting. I find that interesting. It's more to be like, oh hey, here's another anecdotal fact. It was not a disagreement at all.
No, I completely agree. And Reverend Scott is on the phone. Adam, are you there? Unmute Adam. Adam, are you there? Adam once, Adam twice. Adam is busy. Ugh. Boy, when you need somebody to do some heavy lifting. Oh, there we go. Adam, are you there? Adam, are you there? Adam, you just got off the phone. Are you there? Ugh.
Hello?
Okay. Well, if you're on stage and want to come talk, please do. If you're in the audience, you want to come up, raise your hand. Calling Adam. Adam's busy. Here's somebody who wants to come up.
Yeah, hi, Steve. Fascinating conversation. Thanks for bringing me up. The title of the room is, was our COVID response a net positive? And I think it's interesting that you say net positive, because it's actually supposed to be a net negative to prevent a bigger net negative. And so all of this is just political, ideological opinion.
What it's going to do is tell them, as long as you don't say something completely stupid or idiotic, you can speak. But he wouldn't listen to simple directions. When I speak, just listen. And if you can't follow simple directions, you're not even going to get the opportunity to speak. So stay down in the goo and enjoy listening.
All right,
Adam, are you there? Adam, are you there? Oh, Reverend Scott, you're there. Reverend Scott.
ChicagoMayorVote.com. Thanks, everybody.
I was going to say I got to take off for a while. I was trying to get Adam's permission to give him a green bean, but
We can mod Adam.
yeah, no. I'll go. Okay, I'll go ahead and mod Adam even without his permission. Make